and welcome back to episode 3 of Abiotic Factor. If this is your first time here, there will be a link in the description to the full series. Previously, our subject explored farther into the facility, through alternate worlds, and finally reaching the door to Silo 3, which was locked tight. After escaping my near-death experience with the security bot, I headed back to my base. I had to find a way to take out those bots and salvage their CPUs. It was then that I thought of something I called a chopinator, a device with spinning blades. I crafted one and set it up at a choke point and lured a security bot into it, and after a few moments of it grinding against the spinning blades, it finally fell to the ground, where I could salvage its CPU. Later, in my base, I started making some soups. It made eating specimens much more stomachable. On day 8, I woke up before the power came back on. So, I spent a moment doing chores around the base. Once the power turned back on, I made my way through the facility, taking out a few more security bots, which allowed me to craft the hacking device, which would hopefully allow me to get into Silo 3. On day 9, I opened Silo 3, and was immediately met by a Zor, which, after a short battle, fell to my spear. Farther along, there was another keypad I had to hack to enter what seemed to be a control room. There was a blood trail leading towards a viewing window. Following the blood trail, I came across a militant of some kind that begged me not to reignite the rift, mentioning abominations within that his brethren had attempted to seal in. He begged me, asking if the cost of my knowledge was not already clear. He threatened that if I did not stop myself, they would. With that, he died before me. Then I proceeded to open the rift. I approached the rift, hesitant to enter at first, but finally deciding to enter. At this point, I don't even think the thought of escaping the facility was on my mind. I was so invested in what they were doing in this facility, I just had to. I had to explore farther. I entered in what appeared to be a treehouse. Looking out, I saw what seemed to be a city during a heavy fog. First thing I checked was what seemed to be another rift. Through it, I think I saw the facility from where I'd entered from, but I wasn't entirely sure. If I had to leave, that would be my go-to. Exploring a nearby building, I found another dead militant leaning against a locked door. Through the door's window, I could see some strange creature? Unable to go that way, I moved on. Eventually, I came across another humanoid. He seemed to be human, or at least used to be human. His name was Marion. He expressed the desire of the giants to leave. They were locked in this place. He said crusaders had made sure none of my people were left. No one to stop me if I were to open the way. From the conversation, I found I needed to get the very power cells I was looking for. Doing so would stop the machines preventing portals, allowing him and his people to leave. Unsure of what to do, I headed back to my base for the night. My theory of the stray rift leading back home proving true. On day 10, I started by exploring an area I'd opened with my new hacking device. It seemed to be some kind of rift room, but it only had one in it. Entering the rift brought me to a very pleasant area, though after exploring a while I found it to be empty. Entering the rift room yesterday again, at this point, I learned it was called Flathill. I explored the area where I found Marion farther, careful to avoid the giants that roamed this world. I had eventually made my way to the roofs of the buildings. From there, I was able to unlock the fence around the ladders, granting me easier access to the roofs in the future. With that, I headed back to base. I had the same uneasy feeling as that night on day 6. I decided to prep for a fight, expecting the rifts to spawn creatures on me. At 10 p.m., the facility AI warned of a biological incursion. Moments later, the air went back to normal. Nothing happened. After a moment of thinking, I figured maybe it happened in another part of the facility. That, or entering and exiting the rifts of late, caused it to be put off. For now. I could only hope. Since things felt normal, I decided to head to sleep for the night. Day 11. This morning, I cooked some food and did base maintenance. But, come afternoon, I headed back to Flathill, exploring the largest building I could access from the roofs I had climbed onto. After making my way through the building and up an elevator, I came face to face to one of the giants. It almost immediately noticed me, but was unable to reach me from where I was. After a moment's hesitation, I bolted past it and was lucky enough to find an open vent. After a bit of vent crawling and other shenanigans, I made my way past the giant up some stairs. The stairs led me up onto the roof, where I saw what I assumed was a power cell. Picking it up, immediately opened a rift nearby. That guy wasn't lying about the machines preventing them. After a slight hesitation, I jumped through, ending up in a new part of the facility. There, I met two Flathill survivors, Janet and Abe. Abe seemed to be in quite the shock, but Janet explained that they planned on leaving the facility the same way I was, through manufacturing out the surface tunnel. I made my way past them back to base, collecting some water and cooking some food before heading to sleep for the night. Day 12. Today, I grabbed the power cell and headed straight for manufacturing. Plugging the power cell into the forklift, lifted the door up, and I was able to enter. As I entered manufacturing, a sudden dense fog settled over the facility. My gay pal let me know it was a fog phenomenon. As I wandered around manufacturing, I suddenly heard a hushed voice telling me to stay quiet. The person was someone called Varsha. She told me she thought this was an accident, the creatures everywhere. But the terrorists, as she called them, which might not be far off, started hunting them down. She told me to head to the blacksmith. She said he'd know how to get out of here. Apparently, he's wired into the whole sector, and his forge is a fortress. As I entered another section of manufacturing, I heard gunshots. Not directly at me, but nearby. I found a radio with someone talking on the other end. He said he was in the nearby crane, which had bulletproof glass, and he was distracting the terrorists so people like me could escape easier. He said I could push right through them, or head through the garage and find the blacksmith. I wandered around the garage area briefly, deciding to head back to base before the lights went out. On my way back, I heard a voice in the plaza. "Where is it?" Looking around, I spotted someone who seemed to be, looking for something. I approached him, cautiously, unsure if he was hostile. But, when he noticed me, he attacked me. Having no choice, I fought back. After a chase, he finally went down. The thing he was holding was apparently a rat scanner. Whatever that was. After that, to get my mind off of what I just did, I did some chores, mainly just collecting water and planting my plants, before heading off to sleep for the night. Thanks for watching. Consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.